of us think that we're having feelings when what we're actually experiencing is emotions.
The feeling, the emotion of the human drama. So we're really experiencing drama, and what you're calling feelings is the transcendence of the drama. That's
Yes.
how I see it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a call from Isabel on line 1, if she's still there. It's always nice to get.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, do you have a question for Teal or a comment or anything?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Hi.
I do. Hi. Oh my God, I am so excited just to be on the phone with you. I've been following your videos, and my question is: I was born Catholic, and but I consider myself more spiritual, and I've been having a lot of dreams about preaching Catholicism or religion. So I'm kind of confused to know. What can you be more specific about what Jesus and the Virgin Mary role? What's their role in this world, or why do they decide to come in and die the way he died? Can you kind of tell me?
Yes, I'm curious.
Well, thought is always in a state of progression. And you could see religion as a progression of thought. It may be spiritually oriented thought, but it's still a progression of thought. So what you watched during the time period when Jesus decided to incarnate was an extreme level of lack of personal freedom and an extreme level of violence. And so what the collective asking was vibrating out into the universe was new thought, new information. People wanted new leadership. It's sort of like the beginning of a major revolution. And so that universal asking was answered through this being who had that intention before he even came in. Consequently, he himself not only went through an interesting journey, but he also studied a very long time with both Hindus and Buddhists. And so his teachings are a huge collection between Eastern religions, which had already existed for thousands of years by that point, and a blend of what he had been interacting with the most especially it was the Jewish mysticism which existed at that particular time. So what you're seeing is a visionary who's able to blend these multiple thoughts into a new picture of what spirituality looked like at that time. Of course, a lot of what he was talking about was I'll just go out on a limb and say bastardized by a lot of the people who were following him who were not in as high of a vibration. And so they mixed in quite a bit of current culture with these teachings of his.
And they created a religion that I don't think Jesus ever intended to
Not
create.
at all. Not at all.
But there's something also about Jesus is that he did, if it's true what they say, the fact of his suffering and the transcendence of the suffering is sort of what you were saying also about suffering on the human realm. But Jesus in his story, as he transcended and brought life back into the body, showed what was possible to rise above the human realm.
Which is a vital message for people at that time, and it's been a vital message which people have resonated for thousands of years, as you notice.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
And so Teal, I think, my feeling is it's time to transcend the old religions because they have gotten in the way of true spirituality.
Oh, yeah. And see, that's what I'm talking about in terms of the progression. What we have a problem with as a human species is that we're not willing to lay things down when something better is coming up. Usually it takes us a while to make that transition. So what it is that the teachings of Jesus were completely in alignment. It's what everybody needed at that time. But now we're still holding on to a lot of what that turned into, even though thought has progressed even farther. So humanity is now able to self-actualize, to see the God within the self. And by maintaining this attachment to the religions which were once an improvement upon what was, but aren't anymore, we're restricting ourselves from going forward. We're restricting ourselves from that progression.
Well, some people are, but I think people like you and all these people I've been meeting are formulating the new view of the divine essence within. So I think there's something new taking place, and it's always the old that takes time to kind of die out. So we're in a huge transition. I just had another question along different lines, is the dream state. So when we're dreaming, we're actually experiencing these multidimensional realities. Is that your point of view?
Oh yes. So when you are dreaming, you are leaving just enough energy to feed your body to the point where it can breathe and maintain some of its lower functions, the functions that are automatic. But you're withdrawing your consciousness all the way back to the 12th dimensional reality. You're back with source energy. But as you come back in to this dimension, you're passing through all of those dimensional realities to get back into your body. And in split seconds, upon you coming into your body, you pass through these multiple dimensional realities, pass through these symbolic, especially symbolic realities like fifth, sixth dimensional awarenesses. That's where your dreams are taking place. As you pass through them, you're interacting with your own thought forms, your own symbolic thought process. So let's say that in my waking life, I have an issue because I don't want to go near all of my childhood trauma, and going near that feels like this super dark looming thing. Potentially what I'm interacting with on the sixth dimension is the symbolic image of that feeling state. Say it's a whale. For me, that's what it is. So I will be passing through what my mind has translated as the closest symbolic equivalent to that particular feeling state, which is me swimming in a deep ocean with a whale. Scary as hell, right? So as I transition back into my physical body, my physical brain translates that symbol into something that I can understand. And that's where I am now adding a timeline to it. And now I went here with that person. So our dreams are essentially us interacting with those thoughts which have percolated on the sixth dimensional reality usually.
But but I like what you said, because we are actually returning to 12th dimension, to source. And I find that when I allow myself to even dream or sleep, even for like a little nap, I am totally revitalized because of my visit to the source.
Yes.
So there's something in the need for us to return to those realms in order to revitalize this dimension.
Yeah, and you'll notice that the higher of somebody's vibration gets, the less need they have for sleep, because they're able to channel. That's what we all are. We are channels for that non-physical 12th dimensional consciousness. So once we are able to completely stay in alignment, then there's no need to withdraw so as to find alignment. That's what we're doing when we sleep. We are refining alignment.
Great. Okay, I have another call from Kim. Okay, you can put Kim on the line. Kim? Hello? Kim? Do you have a call?
I love your videos. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
I love your videos. Love you. I have a question. I've been struggling with this thing with my brother. Like, how do I form this question? Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, I guess it's a situation where, I'll just give the most recent example. There was a family March birthday party where my mom had planned this birthday gathering in a restaurant, and my brother arrived with his wife and two young kids. And we don't see them. We all love the children, and it's rare that we get to see the kids. And as soon as we got there, there was a wait. I could see that his wife didn't want to stay. She wanted to go. And it ended up that they left before we even ate or sat down or anything. We had cake, we had presents, and this is kind of a typical behavior for my brother. And I just don't know how I manifest this kind of situation. And
how
is
did
it
it make
something
you
I'm
feel?
manifesting?
Yeah, okay. What's something you're manifesting is your question?
Yeah, the question is, like, is it when we have these weird interactions with family members or whatever, when is it that we're manifesting it, or it's something that they're manifesting and we're just reacting badly to it? Does that make sense?
Everything that you're experiencing together is a co-creation. So you're a match to it, potentially for the same reason, potentially for a different reason. So what you've got to look at is how that interaction makes you feel. And then you have to trace that backwards to the original place which you adopted those particular thought patterns or that way of feeling. Because this is just a current manifestation of a very old vibration. So what would you say that would be when he does those things? What does it make you feel like?
That he doesn't care about me and my family.
Yes.
And appreciate me.
So when did that start? If you trace those feelings, so take it away from your brother. If you trace the nobody cares about me or my feelings, where did that come from?
Where would that go? Oh, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it just starts with my brother, but I'm sure it started sooner.
Do you
Yeah,
remember
that's definitely the most important thing to find out, because you always want to go back to the origin in this life of where that particular thought pattern began, because that will be your indication. I can promise you that this particular vibration didn't begin with him. That's just spending time in post-manifestational awareness.
So what do you do when you go back and what do you do with it, Teal, when you realize, okay, it started when I was 3 years old and my father left or something? What do you do with that?
Right.
Well, first of all, just being aware changes the vibration. And so what's really causing the problem here is that we are in a particular vibration which is causing manifestations that are painful to us. By even being aware of the pattern, you have already changed your vibrational point of attraction, and so a change must occur within the relationship. So maybe there's a fight instead of him just disappearing. See? That's actually a vibrational improvement.
Well, it's kind of weird because I try to be in a good space and be positive and forgiving of it, but I guess in the back of my mind, there's a fear between me and other family members that he's going to ditch on us again, like the past is going to repeat itself. And so I wonder if it actually does repeat it because we have that thinking fear that it's going to happen again.
Yep. Yes, it definitely. So what you're experiencing is what we call a snowballing of vibration. So to begin with, that idea that you aren't cared about and that you're not valued started before, and so this was the manifestation of it. But now you're expecting the manifestation, and so you fed it with even more energy. So you do see that sort of snowballing. So first you want to have awareness of where that came from, and then you want to work yourself into the awareness of the fact that you've got that pattern of snowballing. And then next time you're around him and you feel those negative emotions, don't try to go to the positive. You're trying to skip over that, and you're actually resisting the negative emotions. Let yourself fall into the negative emotions instead and see what happens then.
What would be the negative emotions for her?
Sorry to keep you, but like when you fall into those negative emotions and children are present, like they're his kids, that's where I get concerned. Because if the kids weren't there, I'd probably have my voice out. But I'm so afraid to make a scene in front of the kids. How would someone treat a situation like that?
See, I'm the kind of person who will tell you that saving a child from awareness is never a good idea. We like to protect them from everything when they actually have a greater capacity to live in this planet than we do. They don't come in with a preconception of how things should be. We're the ones that teach them that. And so we're teaching them that you should ignore your emotions.
That's good.
Okay, and then the danger is by speaking my voice, I'm afraid I'm pushing my brother away, because in the past when I do bring, it does seem to distance us. Or is that just another belief pattern?
Well, it's a belief pattern, but also you got to ask yourself, is the relationship worth denying your own self?
Okay.
That's good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. In some ways, it was just a psychological process, but of course, people need that because we need to work through our feelings, and I think that was probably helpful for that woman to understand the source of that. And I guess that's really a lot of your work is in some ways, just the very practical understanding of the place of feelings and emotions.
Yes, we see feelings and emotions as an extension of spirituality, so there's no separation between that which is spiritual and that which is psychological or that which is physical. Mm-hmm. So my business involves all of these levels.
Right, and I think it's great, and it seems like there's a whole bunch of young women that really admire what you're doing, and you're a role model for these women. Which is great. I mean, I think it's great because you've developed an awareness and a language and an understanding. I mean, how many people would you say that you are in touch with worldwide? Do you know?
Millions.
Millions, really?
Yes.
That is well. I think it's great. I mean, because having come in with the awareness that you're helping other people activate that awareness who are just like with this woman dealing with the very basic family structures, but because it's coming from a spiritual level, it's activating these higher realms as well. Mm-hmm. So how do you then, so if you're working with someone like this on a sort of, psychological, how would you bring a spiritual context to something like that simple problem?
That's sort of the difference between where other people draw the line and where I don't draw the line. To me, what we just did is a spiritual process.
In what way? How does it get her back to source? Talk me through that.
Thoughts are dictating what your vibration is. And the vibration is on a spiritual level. That's where you're into the energy of something. So your thoughts are dictating what vibration you hold. That's a spiritual thing. So, and your vibration is dictating what reality you are experiencing. And your thoughts are allowing what universal energy consciousness that is you into your body. And if you're not doing that, then you're getting sick. So just by improving the way that we are thinking, we are allowing the source energy, our non-physical spiritual self, to flow through our body, and we are living in a state of more actualization. We're living in a state of our truest essence.
So that woman who was just on the line has a situation with her family where she feels, I mean, my understanding was that she feels turned off by her brother, and yet she's doesn't feel she can say something, and so your advice would be to say it to help free her from the emotional patterns that keep perpetuating the snowball. Is that what you were saying to her?
Yes, it's much more valuable than living your life trying to make sure that you get a certain reaction from somebody else. That is the exact opposite of freedom. It's the exact opposite of being your true self. And I don't think any relationship is worth that.
So if she expresses her true self, or at least expresses her feelings, what opens up to her on a spiritual, non-physical level in that case, for instance?
She finds people that value the person who she really is instead of value a person she wants to pretend to be.
And also, if it means disconnecting from a family member who doesn't value her.
See, we harbor the improper belief that a people should stay family, that family somehow makes you exempt from having to be a good person. See?
Right, and to take abuse, really,
Yep.
because they're your family, it's okay to be abused or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it's a collective human pattern. When universally, that's not how family is recognized. Family is not any more important. It's just a type of perspective you have. Being around these people in such close contact means that you're going to have a different perspective on life. That's the only reason you come into them. In reality, you are much more close on a soul level to many people that most of you have never met. This is what we call the soul family. The soul family will resonate with the truth of who you are. They will not need to make you be a certain way in order to fit in or to please other people.
Well, I think that's a really good concept that people need to have, because so much harm and suffering has been done for the sake of family and they've been trapped. And I think what you're proposing and what you're giving hope for people is to show they can transcend their family dramas and their ties and their commitments to a structure that may not be supportive of them. It may, but also it may not be supportive of who they are.
Oh, yes. And what's more than that, this is my favorite part about that. By doing that, you're actually setting your family members free as well. Because when they stand there and ask you to behave in a certain way to make them feel good, they're in a powerless state. The powerless state is, I am now dependent upon how you act and what you do. That is a painful state to be in. So not being that, not conforming to that need of the person for you to behave in a way that makes them feel good, actually potentially will set them free from that painful suffering cycle.
And that's also what you had to do in your personal life. Do you have a particular story you want to say about how you did that?
That particular thing?
Well, how you stood up and went and spoke for yourself as opposed to not standing up for yourself. I mean, if you want to share something.
Well, yeah, I'd love to share anything. I'm just trying to come up with like the perfect example for that. I feel like I had to do that when I came out about my whole childhood story, when I was surrounded by a family that would rather have that stay under the rug because it's basically airing everybody's dirty laundry. And
I mean, the abuse.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and
was that sexual abuse too? Was it?
Oh yeah, it was very severe. Sexual, ritual, emotional, mental, all of it.
Yeah.
So I got to a point when I got away where I had all these people that wanted me to keep it secret, including the perpetrators themselves. And the reality was, part of setting myself free was to set that story free. So in order to honor myself, I had to sabotage basically every relationship that I had in my life. And what I found is exactly what I teach people today. What you find is that the right people who will completely embrace the totality of who you are will start filtering into your life as the people who need you to be a certain way to make them feel good filter out of your life. And now I have a family which is not blood related to me, but it is so close to me that I have that security that I've always wanted. And not only that security, that approval for who I am as a person, but I had to give myself the freedom to be who I really was first.
So
And
when
that
you
takes
say, yeah, no, thank you for that. But when you set yourself free, do you feel and you can sense how you set your family, your blood family free? Can you talk about how they were set free?
Well, this is an interesting thing that happened when I got so deep into the suffering, and when my decision to go public made them suffer. They actually turned to Buddhism, and that particular choice was very correct for them. They needed a more structure, I think, than just sort of finding their own spirituality. But within that structure, I've watched them blossom because they couldn't hold on to me. They were suffering so bad they needed answers. They started looking for those answers, and I've watched my parents specifically turn into these compassionate people that I did not see as a child. I mean, they really did open up, and I'm watching them take this attitude, especially relative to truth, which is like maybe so, maybe not, and it's kind of amazing to see them take their own spiritual progression. And I'm watching them take risks where most of their friends are wanting to settle down and wanting to really get serious about retirement. They just like sold everything and moved to a monastery. And to me, I feel like that's a pretty amazing step for someone to take that's the age that they are at right now. And it brings a lot of hope to me because it's like, I love the fact that people are willing to take risks no matter how old they are and not let age get in the way of trying brand new experiences because we are not exempt from expansion, whether we're 6 years old or 80.
So but they must have been suffering to be that abusive. I mean, to do that to somebody is
Oh, it
yeah.
wasn't my parents that did it. That's
Oh,
the issue.
oh,
Yeah, it was a non-family member, which makes the whole thing even more painful for them because they get to look like terrible parents for trusting somebody who was really
oh,
untrustworthy.
oh, I see. Well, that person was probably suffering as well,
Oh,
but
enormously. In fact, that's one of the main reasons why I want to be in the public eye now is because I have this message people need to hear, which is, look, I got a front row seat to this, you guys. I got a front row seat to what it's like to be a psychopath. And I can tell you that that is not born out of somebody who's just in this dimension with a crackpot genetic issue. It is somebody who has gone through extreme amounts of suffering, and suffering begets suffering. It propagates itself. I don't want to see suffering perpetuate. And the kind of justice we have on this planet is no kind of solution. It is no kind of justice. It is doing nothing but adding suffering to suffering, which already existed in the first place.
right. So if someone's like that, who's done that, is arrested and put in jail, that's just perpetuating the suffering. But how do you heal that for someone, or is it possible to heal a
Oh, of
psychopath?
course. I
How?
think anything is possible. Of course, that's going to be my opus. I don't like have the answer right now, but it is universal truth that
Oh,
anything that is done can be undone. So I'm never going to sit there and say that it's impossible. In fact, I think the real goal of many of our lives is to prove that it's possible. And it frustrates me when I read articles that say it's impossible to rehabilitate a sociopath. Does that really benefit us to believe that about these people?
no, no, because deep down they're connected to source like everybody else, and
Yes.
they're obviously so far in the density of their own illusion that they have beliefs that limitation. It seems. Okay, we have. Do you want to take another call or two? How's your time? Do you have a?
I got like 3 minutes, I
Oh,
think.
you have 3 minutes. Okay, we'll just. Well, Dena was on the line first, so let's just take a call
Okay.
from Dena. I mean, we can go a little longer, but I don't know what your time's like. I mean, I don't. We can go as long as we want, but okay, Dena. Doug, is Dena
Hi,
there?
Teal.
Hi.
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm
Question.
so excited. I do. Teal, can you help me understand what it is in me that is preventing me from manifesting a loving relationship in my life?
Oh yeah, you've got a heavy vibration of not deserving it. Huge heavy vibration. It's like it even is carried in your voice patterns.
How does she
So,
change it?
well, here we go. Back to the origin. Why do I not That's the major question. Why do I not deserve love? Because interestingly enough, you have it. You have a lot of it. It's just that you're so focused on the lack of it, so convinced that you deserve the lack of it, that there is a sort of closedness to the presence of it in your life.
Does that make sense, Dena?
It does. And what can I do to change that?
You got to look at deserving. Hey, out of curiosity, have you ever watched a video? I think I did a video a while ago on deserving. Did you watch that one?
I did, and how you. I've also watched the video where you're talking about, the shark, and you're saying, I need to get away from the shark. I need to, and you focus on that. And I'm trying to raise my vibration and focus on, from not from that level of need, but from a level of joy, and manifesting it. But I don't know what it is that I'm unconsciously doing it to block it. I do affirmations.
Okay, so here's a good one. Here's a good thing. What I want you to ask yourself is, what would be so bad if I did get a loving relationship?
That's a good one.
And I don't want you to say, oh, well, nothing would be bad, because the reality is part of you thinks that there would be something really bad about that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be manifesting this. So what would be so bad if I got a loving relationship in my life?
I don't know, Teal. What would be so bad?
What would be the worst thing about that? Yeah.
That you can get your heart broken.
Oh, sounds like a genius reason not to have a relationship. See, that's exactly, this is so important that you just tapped on that, because sometimes we are so afraid of loss that we don't even want to start anything in the first place. So then that's the awareness that we have to have in our life. Almost everything when it comes to spiritual healing is about inquiry, because even by inquiring, we're changing our consciousness and thus our point of attraction. So where did we become so afraid of loss?
Yeah, that's a good
From
question.
Past experiences, right?
Yes, but which one specifically? See, and you don't need to really go looking, because right now when I just asked you that question, the answer came up instantaneously. It was almost like vomit. You just have to be aware of the fact that your subconscious just did that.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That's good.
So I've been through a divorce, and is that where my fear is, that was lost then, and it was a heartbreak.
Yes.
So that fear is blocking me from opening myself to new love?
Yes. I actually completely can relate. I mean, when you've gone through something that traumatic, it's like I know the feeling. It's like I literally can't go through that again, So on one level, this is where you've got the dichotomy. On one level, you've got an asking for a loving relationship. On another level, you've got an asking for the opposite. And so you're in a tug of war where the universe is actually responding to your most dominant vibration, which is to stay secure, which you've already decided your belief is that security is being alone.
And how can I change that too?
Well, first you got to ask yourself, do you really want to change it? Because I think that's sort of a question which we need to sit with for a bit longer. So that your brain can actually absorb the idea that it is something that you genuinely want, instead of just the word I want or I should want this.
And that maybe she is open to possibly having that heartbreak again. It's like, in a way, falling off a horse and getting back on, where you risk that.
Oh yeah, you gotta release resistance to it happening, which looks like finding a way to approve of it happening again. That way you're not so afraid of it. You've released resistance to it, and now you're open to it more so. But it's kind of like a lot of us, you've heard me probably talk about the fact that we have to make the decision to live or die. And that's not just because we're here walking this planet doesn't mean we've made the decision to commit to life, right? Just because we're walking around telling ourselves we want a different or a new relationship doesn't necessarily mean that that's the reality. We sort of have to completely commit to that being what we really want. More so than just thinking that we should want that.
Thank you, Dena. I appreciate the question.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Maybe we'll take one more call, and then we'll do some wrapping up. Okay, is Ashley still there on line 2? Ashley? Do you have a quick question? Nothing too, not too much story, but a question.
I was just wondering how I could get closer to my twin flame.
Okay. Is that somebody you know or someone you want to know?
Yes. Someone I know.
Someone you know. Okay.
Wait, what was the word closer to who now?
Twin flame. Her twin flame.
Woo! Okay. All right. This is a super easy one. Ready? If you want to find your twin flame, what you got to do is come completely into self-acceptance. So we're talking radical self-acceptance, because your twin flame is essentially another version of you, right? It's your closest equivalent. So your closest equivalent, being you, is only going to be a match to you when you're in a total state of self-approval, right? So the way to get into a state of self-approval, the best way that I've found essentially, is to start off in the morning, because obviously in the morning is when you're going to set up your entire vibration for the day. So you start in the morning and you pick one thing that you don't approve of about yourself and you find approval for it. So let's say that I have identified that I am a person. So actually tell me something that you think about yourself that you think is a negative trait about you.
I guess my hair.
What about it?
I've killed my hair because I've dyed it too many times, and it was already thin to begin with. So.
Oh, I love it. This is good. Okay. So you can start. So this is a good example too. So you don't just want to do physical things. You also want to do like non-physical things. So I can say any feature of mine that I own as part of me, you want to find approval for, or you also want to do this for internal things. Things like, let's say that I'm an overly aggressive person. You want to find approval for aggression. If I'm an angry person, you find approval for anger, right? So let's start with hair.
That's actually perfect because I do have anger issues.
Okay, good. All right, so let's go with that, because you can sort of figure out the hair one. I'm sure that you can figure out that one really good. So let's start with the anger. I got to find approval, complete approval for the anger that I feel. So I write down, I'm an angry person, because you've already decided you're an angry person. What does that mean? That means you've owned that as part of yourself. The minute you've owned that as part of yourself, you can't try to improve yourself or improve that aspect of yourself without making yourself an enemy. Interesting, right? It puts you at war with yourself. And that makes you not a match to the twin flame. So what you got to do is find approval for anger. So you write it down, and then you force yourself to write an entire page. You want to basically focus on this for a long time to activate that vibration, the strong vibration of approval within you, of ways that you can think about that differently that make you feel good about the fact that you're angry. So, for example, if I'm angry, I'm giving myself permission to feel the way that I feel. That's a good thing. If I'm angry, I'm giving other people permission to be angry. Because a lot of times what you'll notice is like this it's sort of like a pop-off effect where you get angry and then that causes someone else to get angry. But those feelings were already dormant within the person. They're just now letting them out. Okay, if I'm an angry person, I find it easy to move out of powerlessness. What you notice is that people get into a powerless state, and quite often, if they feel bad about being angry or they're not easily going into anger, they'll stay in those super low vibrational spaces. When somebody is able to be angry, they're able to move past powerlessness. Yay! Right? Because all of the worst vibrational things happen to us when we're in that vibration of powerlessness. What else could we think?
Well, that's good for now. I mean, if people want to continue, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's a good example. So there's 3 examples, but what you want to do is write an entire page. So you're asking yourself to think way outside the box of writing a whole page here that will make you feel good about being angry. And what's really important is you pay attention to your emotions, because emotionally, it'll be a sensation in your chest specifically. You're going to start to feel that sensation of relief to the point where you'll not feel so bad about being an angry person. That means you've come more into a space of acceptance about it. And so the more that you do that, the closer your twin flame gets, and the closer your twin flame gets. And when you get to a certain level of, there will be more expansion with your twin flame, but you're only going to be a match to them when you have reached a certain vibratory level of at least being okay with who you are. So that, I swear to God, it's the fastest way you can get to your twin flame.
Well, thank you, Ashley, for opening yourself up and sharing that. I appreciate it. Thank you. So if people want to get in touch with you, I mean, you have really thousands of people around the world that want to talk to you. What's the best way to reach you?
I think the best way is to follow my material, or to show up at the workshops, because I try to make it around to talk to people at those one-on-one, and obviously you can have the opportunity to come up on stage and have me work through your issues, which is super fun. So I do these synchronization workshops. If you go to my website, www.tealswan.com, all of my things and events that have been planned for the year are posted there. And I also do a weekly video every Saturday that's on YouTube. It's the Ask Teal series, where people will submit questions and I'll answer them in a video format.
And you also have the spiritualcatalyst.com website. Is that the same?
We actually just shifted it because tealswan.com is pretty easy, and we're trying to do a bunch of brand marketing right now. So basically, if you go to thespiritualcatalyst.com, it just redirects you to tealswan.com. So
I see. No, the one question I have to ask you is, you're very good with the kind of practical, emotional connection. How do you where do you where do you draw on the source of that wisdom and knowledge? How did you access that?
I feel like it's just through observing patterns. I think it's difficult to explain, of course, but when I'm sitting in front of a person, being able to observe their multidimensional aspect means that I can watch their thoughts visually. I'm actually looking at the patterns in the auric field. And so when somebody thinks something, I'm watching it. So when I say something, I'm watching their emotional reaction as well. And so it became very easy for me, kind of like playing chess, to know what to say to elicit a certain reaction, which is super beneficial when it comes to shadow work. It means that I know what needs to be said in order to move someone into a space of awareness. It means I know what to say in order to make somebody move into relief.
Right. But you know what to say because you've also had those experiences. You can see and feel and have the compassion because you've been there in a sense.
Oh, hell yeah.
But you've
I
been
had
there.
to do this process so many times on myself. It's ridiculous.
Was it in this lifetime or are you remembering other lifetimes?
I remember all of the lifetimes, but I've definitely done the most amount of shadow work in this life, I think.
So it's because of that deep shadow work that you can help a lot of these young women who are still dealing with their shadow.
Yes.
Well, it's really beautiful. I feel the way you're talking to people on so many levels, which are of course all the same as uplifting the spirit in whatever way needs to be. So, any final words you would like to share?
Just that life is meant to be happy. It really is. And then nothing has gone wrong if you aren't in a happy state, but that we're really rushing around trying to add more meaning to life than is actually here, and it's causing a lot of suffering. So the most important thing in your life is that you feel good. So I think with my final words to just tell people that, look, it's your birthright to get what you want to get. It's your birthright to be happy on this planet. So if you can find a way to be brave enough to follow your emotions and to do what you know is right in your heart for you to do, your life will turn out well.
And to go into those emotions that you're having, even if they may not be happy, the way out is the way in a sense.
Oh, yes. Why, definitely.
And one more thing, now that you brought that up, I just wanted to give it a bigger perspective. Where do you see where are we going as a planet? What's your vision of a future of spiritually awakened people?
Glorious. We've
see?
all talked about utopia for so long, and we've all got a different vision of what that looks like. But when you have a group of people who are reconnected to their eternal beings, the collective consciousness, connected to each other, you have a reality which is absent of conflict and absent of war. Imagine experiencing that kind of reality, and not just one species. This is like us coming into alignment with multiple species, all species that we cohabitate on this planet with. It is literally a Shangri-La, which we are headed towards.
How do you tell that to those women that we've talked to tonight who are still working through, like all of us, through our individual personalities, our desires? How do you connect that bigger vision to the personal?
I wouldn't try.
Okay.
because basically I know it's funny. I wouldn't try that because what I'm talking about is such a vibrational gap from where many people are that it actually causes them to feel worse. So
Ah,
I am in the business of helping people close the gap from wherever they are. For a lot of people when they're in powerlessness or grief and you tell them how good life is going to be, all they feel is the absence of that in their experience.
so they have to work through that in order to see that we really can live in a utopia. That
Yes.
there
Yeah.
is, and it's a beautiful world that's unfolding, but everyone's in their own process getting there because it's just the intersection of all our individual personality timelines that seem to make up this multiverse of human existence,
Yes.
in a sense. Well, I really appreciate your perspective and all that you're teaching, and maybe we'll meet and do a television interview at some point.
I would love that. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, are you ever in the New York area?
Not unless I have an excuse.
Okay, well, maybe you will. But where are you located, basically?
Right now in Park City, Utah.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll see you out there. Thanks a thanks thanks so much. I really appreciate the whole multidimensional perspective and the fact that you're so grounded in working just through the emotional issues that connect people to their spirit. So,
Thank you.
okay, it's Teal Swan is the website.com.
Yes.
Thanks, Teal. That was really, really nice.
Thank you.
This is Alan Steinfeld for New Realities. If you have any more questions for Teal, just go to her website. I'm sure there's a way to contact her on the website, or go to some of her events that are listed on the Teal Swan website. If you want to reach me, I'm at newrealities.com, or you can email me at newrealities@earthlink.net. Thanks for listening.